Hello, and welcome to this Divine Partnership Coaching video. This is going to be the second in the series, When Karmics Attack. Today, I want to just offer a brief blurb on what I'm going to call distraction tactics. And I think I've probably seen this more so from karmic feminines and toxic femininity than necessarily masculinity. And what it usually manifests as is when someone is feeling, I'm going to say when a karmic is feeling insecure and worried that, yeah, I don't know, the best thing I could say is that if you have too much free time, that you're going to lose interest in them, or that you'll find your way back to your divine counterpart, or that you'll get into some trouble, or someone else will steal you away from them. There's so many different reasons why it might happen. They might just enjoy keeping you really busy. But one of the things that they will, I'm not going to necessarily say it's intentional. A lot of it is intentional, but a lot of it is also trauma responses, and they're not usually intentionally trying to drive you nuts, but it is a crazy making tactic. And so what they'll often do is they'll have like a ton of chores that they want you to get done, or errands that they need you to run. Sometimes they'll make up things, like they'll have you go out and buy something, and then the following weekend they want you to return it, or the next day they want you to return it. And any time that you maybe are supposed to see your divine partner, or a friend of the opposite gender, or that you're supposed to see your kids, or that you would otherwise just have some free time, they will usually say, okay, well, let's go shopping, or let's go get this thing done, or wait a minute, don't you remember we were supposed to go see my mom or your mom, or we were going to take my kids to the park, or we had this other thing we were going to do, or you know what, I need a haircut today, and if they can't get you to go do something with them, or they sense that you're starting to feel overwhelmed and distressed and frustrated with all that neediness of you needing to do something, they might turn it around and try to focus on what you want to do, but they want to be with you at all times. And a few of my clients, and even in some personal experience, have also revealed that sometimes they will even recruit others. It might be family members or friends of yours. If you notice that they don't have very many friends, they wouldn't be opposed to recruiting your friends and your family and things like that. Like, they will uh, make sure that there is somebody kind of at all times who can keep you busy. And the other person might not know they've been recruited, or they might know. It really depends. I've seen some karmics who are very aware of what they're doing and kind of running a scam on things. And I've seen other karmics who are just caught in subconscious trauma cycles that they're not aware of. And this is how they grew up learning, was how you keep a partner. And they will, they might even use their kids to do it. Like, oh, this kid needs something, or, if they're running out of options, oh my gosh, I feel like I've got this horrible sickness and I need you to take me or the kids to the hospital or the doctor or something. And then if you want some alone time, or you don't want to be running all these things, they might stop doing the chores that they said they would do, or running the errands they said they would do, or they might suddenly feel sick and tired all the time, or throw a fit, or be so extra grumpy around everybody that you don't want to risk the opportunity of upsetting them. And then they might complain that you guys don't have enough fun, and then suddenly all that, whatever other time you may have had, is soaked up. They might even sometimes say, decide that they need you to come to work with them, or they need you to come home for lunch all the time. They need you to take care of something for them, or there's so many different things. That's the hard thing about it. There's so many different distractions, and not all of them are bad. They might throw in a romantic gesture, or a gift, or have a meltdown, or like, there's just so many different things. The kind of sucky thing about such a situation is that they're often just as distracted and confused, and they feel like it's better to keep you in a place of distraction, because if you're distracted, you're frustrated and you're distressed, and that keeps you out of alignment. That keeps you in a low vibration where you are much more malleable and easy to manipulate. Because if you're, if you're stressed and you're tired, then another distraction tactic too will be to make sure that you have a very difficult time going to sleep, whether they let their kids stay up, or they're always doing something, or they're not tired, or they tell you you can't go to bed yet because they haven't done the sheets on the bed, or whatever thing that it is. Or now they decide to pick a fight about that, about you not cleaning the gutters last week. Whatever it is, they're going to keep it going. The same thing with, maybe they say that they're going to make dinner at a certain time, but it's never at that time. You're always waiting on it. So then you're hungry and you're tired and you don't really know what's going on. And because you're in low vibrational energy, it's easier for them to hold on to you, especially if you're the kind of person that values trying not to have big conversations when you're upset, because you recognize you're upset and you're reactive. So you're much more likely to stay quiet and just to go with the flow until you feel better, but then you never have an opportunity to feel better. And especially when they're recruiting others and, kids and things like that, and having you run half a dozen errands, or making you, then you start to get into a state of anxiety almost all the time. And when you are in that low vibration, you're not going to be likely in alignment with your divine partner. You're not going to be in alignment with your inner being. So you're going to stay in that low vibration with them, which you can really start to recognize if they are employing distraction tactics, especially intentionally, in two ways. The first way, and usually the best one to start with, is just very calmly and very directly point it out. Say, do you recognize that you have my entire schedule when I'm not at work, like, completely filled up with a ton of things, and there is no time or space in it for me to have real alone time? And whenever I'm supposed to do this or do that, it seems like there's always an extra thing that I need to do. Are you aware that you're creating these tactics that make it so that it's difficult to focus or relax? And just kind of see what they say. If they're doing it intentionally, they're probably going to freak out and be really upset that you've called them out on it. They're not likely to want to resolve it. They're likely to clam up, or maybe say, well, you know what, you never spend any time with me anyways, or, well, I never get any time for my stuff. They're going to blame shift. They're going to switch it around. And the second thing is just to very firmly and calmly state a boundary. Say, you know what? This day of the week is my day. It could be your day off, or it could be just an evening after work, like from the time you get home afterwards, and you simply say, on this day, I am not going to do any chores or errands. I'm going to spend time doing whatever it is that I want to do, and it is a day that we are going to do separate things. It's a wonderful day for you to go out with your girlfriends or guy friends, or spend time with the kids, or do whatever. I don't have anything particular picked for what I am going to do. I reserve the right to spend it in whatever way I choose, with or without whoever I choose. And just see what they do. If that seems to trigger a whole ton of insecurities just from saying that, like, they, which they might say out loud, like, well, you're just going to go spend it with so and so, aren't you? Or, why don't you want to spend this day with me? Or, well, I don't have anybody to go hang out with, or I don't get enough time with you. Like, there'll be all sorts of objections and complaints. Whereas a healthy, secure individual, and somebody, especially if you're talking about like your divine partner, they're much more likely to go, you know what, I really admire that you can totally say that, and I appreciate that, and you know what, I would like a day to be able to go out and spend with my bestie. Well, I mean, assuming your partner is usually your bestie, but your secondary bestie, whether it's a gal friend or a guy friend, or whatever, when you're in a healthy state of mind and you're not trying to grasp to hold on to somebody, that sounds like a wonderful thing. And you know you have plenty of time you can spend with them. And you also recognize that, if you're in a healthy relationship, it's long term. And usually things don't stay permanently the way that they are. So there's no need to be insecure in that state of lack. And if you recognize that you're with the karmic or somebody who's in toxic energy and they are employing distraction tactics using one of those two methods, you can then start to recognize what's going on, that you're being manipulated or they're intentionally trying to make it difficult for you to get rest and feel good and be able to kind of see what they're doing. At that point, well, I would just say get yourself the heck out of there, but that's not always, it's easier said than done sometimes, especially if you've entangled yourself with them familially or legally or anything like that, or even if you're just dealing with issues of codependence or fears of abandonment, it can be a little easier said than done. But the really nice thing about that is that if you recognize that you have a karmic who is manipulating you and using distraction tactics, you can also recognize how it is that you manifested them and how it is that you can release yourself from them, and that's by healing your own insecurities, because they're reflecting you. If they're insecure and trying to manipulate you, who are you trying to manipulate? Even if it's just yourself, maybe you're trying to hold in your feelings or be with somebody that you don't really like, or there's a whole number of things. But start to look at that and start to dig in and figure out what it is that you need to heal. Is it a fear of abandonment? Like, are you staying in this toxic dynamic because you're afraid to be alone, or you're afraid you can't handle it financially, or you're afraid of facing your emotions? Whatever it is, you can start to do that before you're separated from them. In fact, you're going to do that whether or not you do it intentionally. But obviously, if you're listening to something like that, like this, you're ready to do it intentionally. So if you notice that you've got a karmic attacking with distraction tactics, the first thing is really to step back, get grounded, and set good boundaries that allow you to get good sleep, to eat well, to have time alone and time with friends, and just let them have their tantrums and don't even worry about it. Worry about you. And as you do that, they're naturally going to lose interest and find a new target anyways.